On the biggest day of her life, Sophia Lane gets trapped in an elevator with a stranger, only to discover he's not a stranger at all. Was it fate, or just the first twist of many? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Sophia Lane stood in front of her bedroom mirror, smoothing down the lapels of her navy blue suit jacket. It was the only professional outfit she owned, purchased 3 years ago for her college graduation. The sleeves were a touch too short now, and the style wasn't exactly current, but it was clean and pressed. That would have to be good enough. You can do this, she told her reflection, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. This is what you've been working for. At 24, Sophia was tired of temporary jobs and uncertain futures. Her entire life had been one big question mark, following her mother Diane from town to town, apartment to apartment, as Diane chased. New boyfriends, new jobs, and new fresh starts that never seemed to stick. Sophia's small apartment wasn't much, but it was hers, stable, permanent. And today's interview at Westmore Publishing could be her ticket to the life she'd always wanted. Predictable, secure, with a clear path forward. The bus ride downtown was crowded, but Sophia didn't mind. She used the time to review her portfolio one more time and mentally rehearse her answers to potential interview questions. By the time she arrived at the towering glass building that housed Westmore Publishing, she was 20 minutes early. Perfect. The lobby was all polished marble and sleek modern furniture. Sophia approached the reception desk, her worn leather portfolio clutched tightly against her chest. "Good morning. I'm Sophia Lane. I have an interview at 9:30 with Human Resources for the editorial assistant position." The receptionist smiled. "Welcome to Westmore, Ms. Lane. Please take the elevator to the 14th floor." Sophia nodded and headed toward the bank of elevators. Most were crowded with the morning rush of employees, but one stood empty. She stepped inside, pressed the button for the 14th floor, and took a deep breath. The doors were about to close when a hand shot out to stop them. A man in a black hoodie and jeans slipped inside, carrying a cardboard tray with 2 coffee cups. He gave Sophia a quick nod and pressed the button for the top floor, the executive level. "Sorry," he said with a slightly crooked smile. "Didn't mean to startle you." "No problem," Sophia replied, trying not to stare. Despite his casual clothes, there was something striking about him. Dark hair that curled slightly at the edges, kind blue eyes, and a quiet confidence in the way he stood. The elevator began to climb, and Sophia focused on her breathing. 1, floor 2, floors 3. With a grinding noise and a violent jerk, the elevator shuddered to a halt. The lights flickered once, twice, then stabilized. "What was that?" Sophia gasped, her heart suddenly pounding. "I think we're stuck," the man said, reaching past her to press the emergency button. Nothing happened. He tried again, then pulled out his phone. No signal, of course. Sophia felt her chest tighten. The walls of the elevator seemed to be closing in. "No, no, no, this can't be happening. Not today. I have an interview. It's important. I can't be late." The man turned to her, concern evident in his eyes. "Hey, it's okay. Someone will notice the elevator isn't working. They'll get us out." But Sophia couldn't hear him through the roaring in her ears. Her breath came in short gasps as panic took hold. I can't breathe." "Look at me," the man said firmly, setting down his coffee tray and placing his hands gently on her shoulders. "Look at me, okay? We're going to be fine." Sophia forced herself to meet his gaze. His eyes were steady, calm. "That's it, now breathe with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Somehow his voice cut through her panic. She followed his instructions, matching her breathing to his until the tightness in her chest began to ease. "Better?" he asked. She nodded, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I don't usually fall apart like that." "No apologies needed." He reached for his coffee tray. "Here, I have an extra. It might help." Sophia accepted the cup gratefully. "Thank you. I'm Sophia, by the way." "Grayson," he replied with a warm smile. "Nice to meet you, Sophia, even under these circumstances." She took a sip of the coffee. It was perfect, just the right balance of sweet and bitter. "Aren't you worried about being stuck?" Grayson shrugged. "Not much I can do about it, so why stress? Besides, I'm in good company." For some reason, that made Sophia blush. She looked down at her coffee. "So," Grayson said, settling onto the elevator floor and motioning for her to join him. "You mentioned an interview. What's the position?" Sophia sat down carefully, trying not to wrinkle her suit too badly. "Editorial assistant at Westmore Publishing. It's entry-level, but it's a foot in the door. I've wanted to work in publishing since I was a kid." "What made you want to work with books?" Grayson asked, seeming genuinely interested. "Books were the only constant in my life growing up," Sophia admitted. "We moved around a lot, but I could always find a library. Books were like portable homes. They gave me somewhere to belong when nothing else did." She stopped, surprised at herself for sharing something so personal with a stranger. "That's beautiful," Grayson said quietly. "And I get it. Books saved me too, in a different way." "How so?" Grayson took a sip of his coffee before answering. "My parents had very specific ideas about who I should be and what I should do with my life. Books showed me there were other possibilities." "And what did you choose?" Sophia asked. A shadow of something, regret maybe, crossed his face. "I'm still figuring that out." They fell into easy conversation after that. They discovered shared favorites. Both loved mysteries and historical fiction. They debated the merits of e-books versus paper. Sophia was firmly in the nothing beats the feel of a real book camp, while Grayson appreciated the convenience of having an entire library on one device. "I can't believe I'm sitting on an elevator, floor spilling my guts to a complete stranger." Sophia laughed after sharing a particularly embarrassing story about how she'd once shelved books at her college library according to her own system, only to be gently corrected by her supervisor. "Sometimes it's easier to be honest with strangers," Grayson replied. "No history, no expectations." Sophia nodded. "No need to maintain the mask." "Exactly. So what's your mask, Sophia Lane? What do you hide from the world?" The question caught her off guard. I don't know what you mean." "Sure you do," he said, but his tone was kind. "Everyone has something they keep tucked away, the part they think is too messy or complicated for other people to handle." Sophia looked down at her half-empty coffee cup. "I guess I pretend to be more put together than I am. My mom's life was chaos, and I swore I'd never live that way. So I make plans, I stick to routines, I control everything I can." She gave a small, self-conscious laugh. "But sometimes I worry that I'm just one mistake away from everything falling apart." Grayson was quiet for a moment. "Control is a powerful illusion, isn't it? We think if we just try hard enough, we can make life behave. But some of the best things happen when we let go a little. Is that what you did, let go?" "Not exactly," he admitted. "I'm a work in progress. But I'm learning." A comfortable silence fell between them. There was something about Grayson that made Sophia feel safe, seen in a way she hadn't experienced before. It wasn't just that he was handsome, though he certainly was, but the way he listened, really listened, without judgment. Finally, a crackling voice came through the elevator's intercom. "Hello? Is anyone in there?" Grayson stood quickly. "Yes, 2 people. We've been stuck for about an hour. We're working on getting you out. Should be just a few more minutes." True to their word, the maintenance crew had the elevator moving again shortly after. As it resumed its climb, Sophia felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment. "Well," Grayson said, straightening his hoodie, "that was quite the morning adventure." "Thank you," Sophia said sincerely. "For the coffee, the conversation, for talking me down from a panic attack." "Any time," he replied with a gentle smile. "And hey, for what it's worth, I think Westmore would be lucky to have you." The elevator stopped at the 14th floor. As the doors opened, Grayson gave her a friendly wink. "Good luck with your big meeting. You've got this." Sophia stepped out, turning back to say something more, but the doors had already closed. She stood there for a moment, a strange feeling settling in her chest. She'd probably never see him again. This kind stranger who'd made being trapped in an elevator one of the most memorable hours of her life. Shaking herself back to reality, Sophia checked her watch. Despite everything, she was still on time for her interview. She straightened her jacket, took a deep breath, and approached the receptionist. "Sophia Lane for the 9:30 interview," the woman smiled. Yes, Ms. Lane, they're ready for you in the conference room. Mr. West is eager to meet you. Sophia frowned slightly. Mr. West, I thought I was meeting with Human Resources. There's been a change of plans, the receptionist explained. The CEO himself wanted to conduct your interview. Sophia's stomach dropped. The CEO? She'd prepared to impress an HR manager, not the head of the entire company. Still, she'd come too far to back down now. The receptionist led her to a large conference room with a stunning view of the city. Mr. West will be with you shortly, she said, closing the door behind her. Sophia sat down at the massive table, spreading her portfolio in front of her. She could do this. It was just a conversation, like the one she'd just had with Grayson. If she could be honest and thoughtful with a stranger in an elevator, she could certainly handle an interview. The door opened and Sophia rose to her feet, professional smile in place. But when she saw who walked in, her smile froze. It was Grayson. Same blue eyes, same slightly crooked smile, but instead of a hoodie, he now wore an impeccably tailored suit that spoke of money and power. His hair was combed back neatly, and he carried himself with an authority that hadn't been apparent in the elevator. Ms. Lane, he said formally, extending his hand. I'm Grayson West, CEO of Westmore Publishing. It's a pleasure to meet you, officially. Sophia stared at his outstretched hand, her mind racing. The kind stranger from the elevator was Grayson West. The Grayson West? One of the youngest CEOs in the publishing industry who'd taken over his family's company and transformed it from a traditional publishing house to a digital media empire. And he'd sat on an elevator floor with her, listening to her ramble about books and her insecurities and her messed-up childhood. Heat rushed to Sophia's face. She'd been played. He must have known exactly who she was in that elevator. He'd probably looked over her resume, seen her community college education and list of temp jobs, and decided to have a little fun with the naive girl applying for the entry-level position. Ms. Lane, he prompted, is everything all right? Sophia finally took his hand, shaking it briefly before pulling away. Fine, she said coldly, just surprised. A flicker of something, regret, passed over his face. About the elevator, shouldn't we focus on the interview? Sophia interrupted, her voice tight. I wouldn't want to waste any more of your valuable time. Grayson looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Of course. Please, sit down. The interview that followed was a disaster. Sophia gave short, formal answers to his questions, unable to recapture the warmth and openness they'd shared earlier. How could she? Every word out of his mouth now felt calculated, every question a trap. Your resume is impressive, Grayson said, though Sophia knew it was anything but. You've worked in a variety of environments. I go where the work is, she replied stiffly. And what drew you to Westmore specifically? Sophia struggled to remember the polished answer she'd prepared. Your company's reputation for quality and innovation, she said automatically, sounding rehearsed even to her own ears. That's not what you said in the elevator, Grayson commented quietly. Sophia felt her cheeks burn. In the elevator, I was talking to someone I thought was just a regular person, not someone who was secretly evaluating me. I wasn't Mr. West, she cut him off. I appreciate the opportunity, but I think we both know this isn't going to work out. She began gathering her things, shoving her portfolio into her bag. Sophia, wait, Grayson said, dropping the formal tone. You've got this all wrong. I didn't know who you were in the elevator. I don't personally review every application. When you mentioned Westmore, I assumed you were meeting with someone on my team. Sophia paused, her hand on her bag. Why should I believe that? Because it's the truth, he said simply. And because the person I met in that elevator, the real Sophia Lane, not the one trying so hard to be perfect right now, that person would be an incredible asset to this company. Sophia stared at him, wanting to believe him but afraid to trust the flutter of hope in her chest. So what happens now? Grayson leaned forward, his blue eyes intent. Now, I offer you the job, not out of pity or because of what happened in the elevator, but because your passion for books and your insight into what they mean to people, that's exactly what Westmore needs. Just like that, no second interview, no waiting period. Sometimes, Grayson said with a small smile. The best decisions are the ones we make when we listen to our instincts instead of our fears. Sophia recognized her own words from their elevator conversation, twisted slightly but carrying the same meaning. Had he really been listening that closely? "I need time to think," she said finally. Grayson nodded. "Of course, take the weekend, but Sophia, I hope you'll say yes." As she left the building, Sophia's mind was spinning. The job offer was everything she'd wanted. Stability, a future, a chance to work with books. But accepting meant working for Grayson, seeing him every day, remembering how easily she'd opened up to him, and how utterly humiliated she'd felt when she realized who he really was. Could she trust him? Could she trust herself around him? Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "How did the interview go, honey? Did you wow them?" Sophia stared at the message, thinking about how much her mother would love this story. The handsome CEO, the stuck elevator, the job offer that seemed too good to be true. Diane would call it fate, destiny, the universe conspiring to bring two people together. But Sophia had stopped believing in fairy tales a long time ago. Life had taught her that nothing came without strings attached, and people with power always had ulterior motives. She texted back, "It was interesting. I'll tell you about it later." Then she tucked her phone away and started walking, needing to clear her head. The sensible thing would be to take the job. It was a rare opportunity, one that could set her on the path she'd always wanted. But for the first time in her life, Sophia wasn't sure if the sensible choice was the right one. Monday morning arrived with grey skies and a steady drizzle that matched Sophia's mood. She'd spent the weekend going back and forth, making lists of pros and cons, and even calling her best friend Mia twice for advice. "Take the job," Mia had insisted. "Who cares if the boss is weird or whatever? It's a foot in the door at Westmore. Publishing, do you know how many people would kill for that opportunity?" Sophia knew Mia was right. The sensible thing, the safe thing, would be to accept Grayson West's offer and put her personal feelings aside. It was business, not personal. And yet, as she stood outside the imposing Westmore building in the rain, portfolio clutched to her chest again, but this time wrapped in plastic to keep it dry, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that nothing about this situation was simple. She took a deep breath and pushed through the revolving doors. The security guard recognized her from Friday and waved her through. "Mr. West's office is on the top floor," he said with a friendly smile. "Don't worry about the elevator. They fixed it over the weekend." Sophia managed a tight smile in return. "Great. Thanks." This time, when she stepped into the elevator, it was crowded with Monday morning commuters. No intimate conversations, no shared coffees, just the usual awkward silence of strangers avoiding eye contact. As people got off at various floors, Sophia felt her anxiety rising. By the time she reached the executive level, she was alone again, her heart pounding just as hard as it had when the elevator had stopped on Friday. The doors opened to reveal a sleek reception area with modern furniture and a wall of windows showcasing the city skyline. A woman in her 50s with a stylish grey bob looked up from her desk and smiled warmly. "You must be Sophia Lane. I'm Margaret, Mr. West's executive assistant. He mentioned you'd be stopping by this morning." Sophia nodded, suddenly feeling underdressed in her simple black pants and green blouse, the nicest combination she owned besides the navy suit. "He's on a call right now, but he should be wrapping up soon. Would you like some coffee while you—" "Wait." "No, thank you," Sophia replied, thinking of the coffee Grayson had shared with her in the elevator. "I'm fine." Margaret gestured to a seating area. "Make yourself comfortable. It shouldn't be too long." Sophia sat on the edge of one of the minimalist chairs, feeling anything but comfortable. She'd rehearsed what she was going to say, how she would politely but firmly decline his offer. She couldn't work for someone who had seen her at her most vulnerable, who knew her fears and insecurities. It would be too complicated, too personal. A door opened, and Grayson emerged. Today he wore another, perfectly tailored suit, dark grey this time, with a light blue tie that made his eyes seem even bluer. He was saying something to someone inside the office, his expression serious, but when he turned and saw Sophia, his face transformed with a smile. Sophia's heart gave a traitorous little leap. "Sophia," he said, crossing the reception area. "Thank you for coming. Please come in." He led her into his office, a corner space with floor-to-ceiling windows on two sides. Unlike what Sophia had expected from a CEO's office, there were no intimidating leather chairs or massive desk designed to showcase power. Instead, the room was filled with bookshelves overflowing with well-worn books. A comfortable-looking couch sat along one wall, and Grayson's desk, while large, was cluttered with manuscripts and coffee mugs. It looked lived in, loved, exactly the kind of office Sophia would have designed for herself if she could. "Have a seat," Grayson said, gesturing not to the chairs in front of his desk, but to a small, sitting area near the windows. "Can I get you anything, coffee?" "No, thank you," Sophia said stiffly, sitting down. "I won't be staying long." Grayson's smile faltered. He sat down across from her, his expression turning serious. "You're declining the offer. It wasn't a question." Sophia was surprised he'd read her so easily. "I am," she confirmed. "While I appreciate the opportunity, I don't think it would be a good fit, because of what happened in the elevator." Sophia looked down at her hands. "Mr. West, Grayson?" He corrected gently. "Please." She met his eyes, determined to keep this professional. "Mr. West, you have to understand how this looks from my perspective. I shared personal information with someone I thought was just another person in an unfortunate situation. Then I discovered that just another person was actually the CEO of the company I was hoping to work for. It feels unbalanced." Grayson was quiet for a moment, considering her words. "I understand that. And I want to apologize for not telling you who I was as soon as you mentioned you were interviewing at Westmore. That was a mistake." His apology caught Sophia off guard. She'd expected him to argue, to try to convince her she was overreacting. "But," he continued, "I hope you'll consider that what happened in that elevator was real. Not a trick, not a test, not an interview strategy, just two people connecting." "That's exactly the problem," Sophia replied. "How could I work here knowing that my boss has seen me in the midst of a panic attack, that he knows about my unstable childhood and my deepest insecurities?" "Would it help if I told you some of mine?" Grayson asked, surprising her again. "To level the playing field, so to speak?" Before Sophia could respond, there was a knock at the door and it swung open without waiting for a reply. A woman strode in, all sleek blonde hair and designer clothes. She was beautiful in a polished, perfect way that made Sophia instantly conscious of her own simple outfit and drugstore makeup. "Gray, darling, are we still on for lunch with the Martins? I've had Cecile move some things around in my schedule," and the woman stopped short when she noticed Sophia. "Oh, I didn't realize you had a meeting." Grayson stood up, his expression shifting to something more formal. "Vanessa, yes, we're still on for lunch. This is Sophia Lane, our new editorial assistant. Sophia, this is Vanessa Prescott, our marketing director." Vanessa gave Sophia a quick, assessing look that made her feel like she'd been weighed and found wanting. "Ah, yes. The elevator girl Margaret mentioned. How charming." Sophia felt her face grow hot. So she was already being talked about, her embarrassing encounter with the CEO office gossip. "Sophia was just considering our offer," Grayson said, his tone carefully neutral. "We'd be lucky to have her join the team." Vanessa's perfectly arched eyebrows rose slightly. "Well, don't let me interrupt your negotiation." The pause before the last word carried a subtle insinuation that made Sophia's skin crawl. "Lovely. To meet you, Sarah." "Sophia," Grayson corrected. "Of course." Vanessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'll see you at noon, Gray." After she left, an awkward silence filled the room. Sophia stood up, clutching her bag. "I should go. Vanessa and I dated briefly," Grayson said abruptly. "It ended a year ago, but she still likes to act as if we're together sometimes, especially around new female employees." Sophia blinked, surprised by his candor. "I don't see how that's relevant to—" "It's relevant because I want you to know. I understand complicated workplace dynamics," Grayson interrupted, "and because I don't want you thinking there's anything going on there that would make your position here uncomfortable." "My position here is already uncomfortable," Sophia pointed out, "and getting more so by the minute." Grayson ran a hand through his hair, messing up its perfect styling. The gesture reminded Sophia of the casual, kind man from the elevator, not the polished CEO. "Sophia, please, just hear me out. Then if you still want to walk away, I won't stop you." She hesitated, then sat back down. 5 minutes. Grayson nodded. "Fair enough." He took a deep breath. "When I took over Westmore 4 years ago, it was failing. My father and grandfather had built this company on tradition and reputation, but they refused to adapt to changing markets. By the time my father had his stroke and I stepped in, we were 6 months away from bankruptcy. Sophia hadn't known that. Westmore's public image was all success and innovation. Everyone expected me to sell off the assets and move on," Grayson continued. "After all, I was just the spoiled rich kid who'd been given a corner office when I graduated business school. What did I know about saving a legacy company?" The bitterness in his voice surprised her. "But you didn't sell." "No, I fought. I fired." Half the executive team brought in new talent, restructured our digital division, and worked 18-hour days for 2 years straight. He gestured around the office. "My grandfather's books are on these shelves. His name is on the building. I couldn't let it die." "That's admirable," Sophia said carefully, not sure where he was going with this story. "My point is, I understand what it feels like to have something to prove, to be underestimated, to need stability and security so badly you'll sacrifice almost anything to get it." Sophia felt exposed again, wondering how he'd seen through her so easily. "The thing is," Grayson continued, his voice softer now, "sometimes what feels like a risk is actually the safest choice, and what feels safe is the biggest risk of all." "What does that mean?" "It means taking this job might feel risky because of what happened between us, but the real risk would be walking away from an opportunity that could change your life because you're afraid of being vulnerable." Sophia felt a flash of irritation. "That's easy for you to say. You're the CEO. You have all the power here." "You think I don't have anything to lose?" Grayson asked, leaning forward. "My reputation, for one. The respect of my employees. Do you know what people would say if they thought I hired you because of some personal interest?" "Is that what this is?" Sophia challenged. "A personal interest?" Grayson held her gaze. "I'm offering you this job because you're qualified, and because this company needs people who understand what books mean to readers. That's the professional truth. As for the personal," he paused. "I think we both felt something in that elevator. Something real, but that has nothing to do with this job offer." Sophia didn't know what to say. She'd been prepared for him to deny any personal connection, to keep things strictly business. His honesty left her without a script to follow. "Here's what I propose," Grayson said after a moment. "Take the job. Work directly with our senior editor, Kate Chen. She's brilliant and notoriously hard to impress. If you can win her over, you'll have the respect of the entire editorial department. I'll keep my distance, professionally speaking, until you've established yourself here." "And personally speaking?" Sophia found herself asking, though she knew she shouldn't. A hint of a smile touched Grayson's lips. "That would be entirely up to you." Sophia looked out the window at the rain-washed city below. The safe choice would be to walk away, find another job at a smaller publishing house, somewhere she could be anonymous and keep her carefully constructed walls intact. But Grayson was right. She'd spent her whole life playing it safe, controlling what she could, avoiding risk. Maybe it was time to try something different. "Okay," she said finally, "I'll take the job." The smile that broke across Grayson's face was genuine and warm. "You won't regret it. Kate's expecting you. I can have Margaret show you to her office." Sophia nodded, still not entirely sure she was making the right decision. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. West." "Grayson," he corrected again, standing up and extending his hand. "At least when we're not in meetings." Sophia shook his hand, trying to ignore the way her skin tingled at his touch. "I should get to work then, Grayson." His name felt foreign on her tongue, intimate in a way that made her nervous and excited all at once. As promised, Margaret escorted Sophia to Kate Chen's office on the 12th floor. The senior editor was a striking woman in her 40s, with sharp eyes and an air of no-nonsense efficiency that Sophia immediately respected. "So you're the elevator girl," Kate said bluntly after Margaret left. "Half the office is already talking about it," Sophia winced. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case, Kate shrugged. People gossip, especially when the boss takes a personal interest in a new hire. She assessed Sophia with a critical eye. The question is, are you any good with books or just good at getting stuck in elevators with important people? I have a degree in English literature and 3 years of experience at Riverside Community Library, Sophia replied, lifting her chin. I can provide references who will vouch for my work ethic and editorial judgment. A hint of approval flickered in Kate's eyes. Good. Spine. You'll need it. She pushed a stack of manuscripts across her desk. These are submissions that have made it past the first round of readers. I want you to read them, make notes on what works and what doesn't, and give me your recommendation, acquire or pass, by the end of the week. Sophia looked at the stack. There had to be at least 10 full manuscripts there. The end of the week? Welcome to publishing, Kate said dryly. Your desk is outside. Amy from HR will be by later to set up your computer and get your paperwork. Sorted. It was a dismissal, and Sophia recognized it as such. She gathered the manuscripts and headed to the small desk just outside Kate's office, clearly meant for an assistant. The morning passed in a blur of paperwork, introductions, and orientation. By lunchtime, Sophia's head was spinning with new names and information, but underneath it all was a growing sense of excitement. She was here, at Westmore Publishing. It wasn't just a dream anymore. She was just settling in at her desk with a sandwich when Vanessa Prescott appeared, perching gracefully on the edge of Sophia's desk as if she owned it. Sophia, she corrected automatically. Right. Vanessa smiled, all perfect white teeth. I thought we should have a little chat, woman to woman. Sophia set down her sandwich, her appetite suddenly gone. About? Gray, of course. He's a wonderful man, generous, talented, and of course quite wealthy. Vanessa leaned in, lowering her voice conspiratorially. But he has a bit of a pattern when it comes to staff, especially pretty young staff in need of a helping hand. Sophia felt her cheeks grow hot. I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Don't... You? Vanessa's perfectly manicured finger traced a pattern on Sophia's desk. The last assistant didn't work out so well. Thought she was special because Gray showed her some attention. It was all very messy in the end. Sophia's stomach clenched. Was Vanessa telling the truth? Had there been others before her? The thought made her feel sick. I'm here to work, Sophia said firmly. Nothing more. Vanessa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course you are, darling. Just a friendly warning. Gray likes to play the white knight, finding broken little birds and helping them fly. But once they're airborne, he tends to lose interest. With that parting shot, she sauntered away, leaving Sophia staring after her, doubt creeping in like a cold draft. Had she made a terrible mistake? Was this all just some game to Grayson? The elevator, the job offer, the talk about personal connections? She barely knew him after all. Why had she been so quick to trust him, to believe he saw something special in her? The afternoon dragged on, Sophia's concentration broken by Vanessa's words replaying in her mind. When 5 o'clock came, she was one of the first to leave, needing space to think. As she waited for the elevator, a different one this time, she felt someone come to stand beside her. Long first day? Grayson asked quietly. Sophia didn't look. At him. Very. Kate can be demanding, but she's the best in the business. You'll learn a lot from her. Sophia nodded, keeping her eyes fixed on the elevator doors. I had an interesting conversation with Vanessa today. She felt, rather than saw, Grayson tense beside her. Did you? She mentioned your pattern with assistants. How the last one didn't work out so well. The elevator arrived empty. They both stepped inside. As soon as the doors closed, Grayson hit the emergency stop button. Sophia's eyes widened. What are you doing? Making sure we're not interrupted, he said, his expression serious. If we're going to have this conversation, I want to have it properly, not in snippets between floors. Sophia crossed her arms over her chest. Fine, explain. Grayson ran a hand through his hair again, a nervous habit Sophia was beginning to realize. The last assistant was James Taylor. He was 58, had worked for my father for 20 years, and took early retirement last spring because his wife was diagnosed with cancer. Before him was Patricia Miller, who was with the company for 15 years before moving to Seattle to be closer to her grandchildren. Sophia blinked. But Vanessa says a lot of things, Grayson interrupted, his voice tight. Most of them designed to protect what she sees as her territory. And what territory is that exactly? The Westmore name, the connections, the social cachet of being associated with one of the oldest publishing families in New York. His expression was grim. Not me, never me. Sophia wasn't sure what to say. Vanessa had seemed so convincing, so certain. I don't make a habit of getting involved with employees, Sophia. In fact, I've been so focused on saving this company that my social life has been practically non-existent for the past 4 years. He took a step closer to her. What happened? In the elevator the other day? That was the first real conversation I've had with someone in a long time. The first time I've talked to someone who didn't see me as either a meal ticket or a name on a building. There was such sincerity in his eyes that Sophia wanted to believe him. But it was too much, too fast. She didn't know who to trust. Her instincts, which told her Grayson was being honest, or her experience, which had taught her that people with power rarely showed their true faces. I need to go, she said, reaching past him to release the emergency stop. It's been a long day. Grayson stepped back, giving her space. I understand, but Sophia, I meant what I said this morning. I want you to succeed here because you're talented, not because of anything that happened between us. Just give it a chance. Give me a chance to prove that. The elevator resumed its descent, and they rode the rest of the way in silence. When they reached the lobby, Sophia stepped out without looking back. Outside, the rain had stopped, and the early evening sun was breaking through the clouds. Sophia took a deep breath of the damp city air and started walking, her mind racing. She'd taken the job, burned the bridges to her other options. Now she had to make it work. Complicated feelings and office politics aside, she would focus on the manuscripts Kate had given her, on proving herself through her work. The rest would have to wait. As she reached the corner, her phone chimed with a text message. It was from an unknown number. In case you have elevator emergencies in the future, or if you just want to talk, G. Despite everything, Sophia felt a smile tugging at her lips. The next 2 weeks flew by in a whirlwind of work and new routines. Sophia threw herself into reading manuscripts, making coffee runs for Kate, and learning the complex inner workings of Westmore Publishing. She arrived early each morning and stayed late most evenings, determined to prove her worth through hard work and dedication. Kate Chen was demanding, but fair. By the end of the first week, she'd begun asking for Sophia's opinion during editorial meetings. By the end of the second, she'd assigned Sophia her own small project, a promising young adult novel that needed significant editing but had potential. Don't make me regret this, Kate had said briskly, dropping the manuscript on Sophia's desk. The author is talented but stubborn. She needs a firm hand and a kind heart. I think you might have both. It was the closest thing to a compliment Sophia had received, and she treasured it. As for Grayson, he'd kept his promise to maintain a professional distance. Sophia saw him occasionally in meetings or passing in the hallway, but their interactions were brief and strictly business-related. She told herself this was a relief, that the space was helping her focus on establishing her own reputation at Westmore. But sometimes, late at night in her small apartment, she found herself rereading his text message, her finger hovering over the reply button before she would set her phone aside, unresolved. Vanessa was another matter entirely. The marketing director seemed to turn up everywhere, casually dropping by Sophia's desk with veiled comments, making sure to touch Grayson's arm or shoulder whenever Sophia was present, orchestrating lunch meetings that forced them all into close proximity. She's marking her territory, remarked Lisa, a friendly graphic designer who had taken Sophia under her wing. They were eating lunch in the small staff room, and Lisa nodded toward where Vanessa was holding court at the center table, surrounded by her marketing team. She's been doing it since you started. Sophia picked at her salad. There's nothing to mark. Grayson and I barely speak to each other. Lisa gave her a knowing look. Honey, you don't have to speak for there to be something there. The way you Two look at each other when you think no one's watching. It's like a scene from one of those romance novels Kate hates so much. That's ridiculous, Sophia protested, feeling her cheeks flush. He's my boss. He's everyone's boss, Lisa pointed out. But he doesn't look at everyone the way he looks at you. And Vanessa has noticed, which is why she's been on the warpath. Sophia sighed, pushing her salad around on her plate. It's complicated enough being the new girl without all this drama. Welcome to publishing, Lisa grinned. Half business, half soap opera. That evening, Sophia stayed late to work on her young adult manuscript. The office gradually emptied until the only sounds were the hum of the air conditioning and the clicking of her keyboard. She was so absorbed in her work that she didn't notice someone approaching until a shadow fell across her desk. "You're here late," Grayson said, his voice startling her. Sophia looked up, suddenly conscious of her messy ponytail and the smudged mascara she must have by now. "So are you." "Board meeting prep," he explained, leaning against the wall beside her desk. "The quarterly numbers are in, and the finance team has been torturing me with spreadsheets all day." Despite her determination to keep things professional, Sophia found herself smiling. "Sounds thrilling." About as thrilling as this appears to be, he nodded toward her computer screen. "What are you working on so intently?" "Kate gave me a manuscript to edit." Sophia couldn't help the pride in her voice. "A young adult novel about a girl who discovers she can communicate with plants. Your first solo project, that's impressive. Kate doesn't trust just anyone with her manuscripts." Sophia shrugged, trying to seem casual. "It needs a lot of work. The author has a beautiful writing style, but the plot meanders, and the main character lacks clear motivation." Grayson smiled. "Listen to you. 2 weeks in and already talking like a seasoned editor." His praise warmed her more than it should have. "I still have a lot to learn." "Don't we all?" he agreed. An awkward silence fell between them. Finally, Grayson cleared his throat. "Have you had dinner? I was about to order something in." Sophia hesitated. Was this a casual invitation from a boss concerned about his hard-working employee, or something more? Before she could decide, the elevator doors opened, and Vanessa stepped out, looking as perfect as always in a tailored dress and heels despite the late hour. "There you are, Gray," she called, her voice echoing in the empty office. "I've been texting you for an hour." She stopped when she saw Sophia, her smile cooling several degrees. "Oh, you're still here." "Just finishing up some work," Sophia replied, trying to keep her tone neutral. Vanessa turned back to Grayson, dismissing Sophia completely. "The Martins called. They want to reschedule dinner for tomorrow night. I told them you'd be delighted." Grayson frowned. "You shouldn't have done that." "I have plans tomorrow." "What plans?" Vanessa asked, her voice sweet but her eyes sharp. "Personal ones," Grayson replied firmly. "You don't manage my social calendar, Vanessa." A flash of something, anger, hurt, crossed Vanessa's face before her perfect mask slipped back into place. "The Martins are potential investors, Gray. Their father was friends with yours. It wouldn't look good to turn them down." Sophia felt increasingly uncomfortable witnessing this exchange. She began gathering her things, trying to make a quiet exit. "Don't leave on my account," Vanessa said, her attention suddenly back on Sophia. "Gray and I were just discussing business." "It's late anyway," Sophia said. "I should get home." Grayson looked like he wanted to say something, but Vanessa had already linked her arm through his, her body language making it clear that their conversation was over. "Good night, Sophia," he said, his eyes conveying an apology she wasn't sure she wanted to accept. "Good night, Mr. West," she replied formally, stepping into the waiting elevator. As the doors closed, she caught a glimpse of Vanessa leaning close to Grayson, whispering something in his ear. The sight sent an uncomfortable pang through her chest that she refused to acknowledge as jealousy. The next morning, Sophia arrived at work to find a small paper bag on her desk. Inside was a chocolate croissant from the fancy bakery 2 blocks away, and a note, "Fuel for editing, you're doing great. G." The simple gesture made her smile, despite her determination to keep her guard up. She was just about to take a bite when Kate appeared at her desk. "Meeting in the conference room now," she said briskly, "and bring your notes on the Plant Girl book." Sophia quickly packed up her things, tucking the croissant back into its bag for later. In the conference room, she was surprised to find not just Kate, but also Grayson and several other department heads, including Vanessa. "This is a cross-departmental planning meeting for our fall list," Kate explained as Sophia took a seat. "Each editor will present their top titles, and then we'll discuss marketing strategies and resource allocation." Sophia nodded, suddenly nervous. She hadn't prepared to speak in front of such a senior group. As the meeting progressed, each editor presented their manuscripts with confidence and enthusiasm. When it was Kate's turn, she surprised Sophia by saying, "For our young adult category, I'm going to let Sophia present. She's been working closely with a manuscript I think has significant potential." All eyes turned to Sophia. She felt a moment of panic, but then caught Grayson's encouraging nod from across the table. Taking a deep breath, she opened her folder of notes. "The manuscript is titled Whispers from the Earth by Zoe Winters," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "It follows 16-year-old Maya Chen, who discovers she can hear plants speaking after a near-death experience in her grandmother's garden." As she continued to outline the plot, themes, and market potential of the book, Sophia felt her confidence growing. This was why she was here, to talk about books she believed in, to help bring stories to life. "The manuscript needs work," she concluded honestly, "but I believe with the right guidance, it could be a standout title for our young adult line, potentially appealing to readers interested in magical realism and environmental themes." When she finished, there was a moment of silence before Kate spoke. "Well articulated, Sophia. I agree with your assessment." Several others nodded in agreement, and Sophia felt a flush of pride. "It sounds cute," Vanessa said, examining her perfect manicure. "But hardly groundbreaking. Do we really need another magical girl story? The market is saturated with them." Sophia felt her newfound confidence waver. "Actually," Grayson spoke up, "I think Sophia's identified something unique here. The environmental connection is timely, and if the writing is as lyrical as she describes, it could stand out in a crowded market." Vanessa's eyes narrowed slightly. "Of course you'd say that, Gray." An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Sophia wanted to disappear into her chair. "What I mean," Grayson continued smoothly, "is that we should trust our editor's instincts. That's why we hire them, after all." He turned to Sophia. "I'd be interested in reading the manuscript myself when you've completed your first round of edits." "That won't be necessary," Kate interjected. "Sophia reports to me, and I'll review her work before it goes to anyone else." Sophia glanced between Kate and Grayson, sensing an underlying tension she didn't understand. The meeting continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. When it finally ended, Sophia gathered her notes quickly, eager to escape the lingering awkwardness. "Sophia," Grayson called as she reached the door. "A word, please." She waited as the others filed out, noticing Vanessa's pointed stare as she passed. When they were alone, Grayson ran a hand through his hair, that now familiar gesture that humanized him, despite his expensive suit and CEO title. "I'm sorry about that," he said. "I didn't mean to put you in an uncomfortable position." "Which part?" Sophia asked. "Having to present unprepared, or getting caught in whatever is going on between you and Kate, or you and Vanessa, for that matter?" Grayson looked surprised by her directness. "All of it, I suppose. Office politics can be complicated." "So I'm learning," Sophia replied dryly. "For what it's worth, I thought you did an excellent job presenting the manuscript. Your passion for the story came through clearly." "Thank you," Sophia said, softening slightly. "And thank you for the croissant." A small smile played at Grayson's lips. "You're welcome. Consider it an apology for last night. I didn't mean for you to get caught in the middle of whatever that was with Vanessa." Sophia hesitated, then decided to be bold. "What exactly is going on with you two? One minute she's acting like your girlfriend, the next like a business partner with a grudge." Grayson sighed, leaning against the conference table. "It's complicated. Vanessa and I grew up together. Our families have been friends for generations. When I took over Westmore, she was one of the few people who supported me unconditionally." "So you dated?" Sophia prompted when he paused. "Briefly," he admitted. "It was a mistake." We want different things out of life, out of careers, out of relationships. But Vanessa has never been good at letting go of things she considers hers. And she considers you hers, Sophia stated, rather than asked. She considers the position hers, Grayson clarified, being associated with the Westmore name, the social status, the connections. I'm just the accessory that comes with it. There was a bitterness in his voice that surprised Sophia. She'd assumed someone like Grayson, wealthy, successful, undeniably handsome, would be confident in his personal life. But the man before her seemed almost vulnerable, unsure. I should get back to work, she said after a moment. Kate's expecting my revision notes by end of day. Grayson straightened up, professional mask sliding back into place. Of course. Don't. Let me keep you. Sophia turned to leave but paused at the door. The croissant was delicious, by the way. How did you know I like chocolate ones? A hint of the elevator stranger's smile returned to Grayson's face. Lucky guess. Or maybe I paid attention when you told me about the chocolate croissants at that little bakery near your college library. The ones you said tasted like actual happiness. Sophia stared at him, stunned that he remembered such a small detail from their conversation weeks ago. Before she could respond, Grayson's phone rang. I have to take this, he said apologetically, already reaching for his phone. We'll talk later. Sophia nodded and left, her mind spinning. How was she supposed to maintain professional boundaries when every interaction with Grayson left her more confused about what she really wanted? Back at her desk, Sophia tried to focus on her manuscript edits, but her conversation with Grayson kept replaying in her mind. He'd remembered a throwaway comment about croissants, defended her work in the meeting, opened up about his complicated history with Vanessa. Earth to Sophia, Lisa's voice cut through her thoughts. You've been staring at the same page for 5 minutes. Sophia blinked, refocusing on her friend who was perched on the edge of her desk. Sorry, just thinking. About tall, dark, and CEO, Lisa teased. No, Sophia lied. About this manuscript. Lisa didn't look convinced. Well, when you're done definitely not thinking about him. Some of us are going for drinks after work at Murphy's around the corner. You should come. The invitation surprised Sophia. Though everyone had been pleasant enough, she'd been so focused on proving herself that she hadn't made much effort to socialize with her co-workers. I don't know, she hesitated. I have a lot of work to finish, which will still be there tomorrow, Lisa pointed out. Come on, 1 drink. It'll be good for you to get to know people outside of meetings and deadlines. Put that way, it made sense professionally to accept. Okay, 1 drink, Lisa grinned. Great, I'll swing by your desk at 6. The rest of the day passed in a blur of editing and emails. By 6, Sophia had made significant progress on her manuscript notes and was almost looking forward to unwinding with co-workers. Murphy's turned out to be a cozy Irish pub with dark wood furnishings and soft lighting. A group from Westmore had already claimed a large corner booth, a mix of people from different departments, most of whom Sophia recognized but didn't know well. Lisa made introductions as they sat down. Everyone, this is Sophia, Kate's new assistant and the only person brave enough to tell her that semicolons are overused. There was laughter and a chorus of greetings. Sophia relaxed a little, sipping the beer someone had ordered for her. The conversation flowed easily, mostly office gossip and publishing industry talk that Sophia found she could follow and even contribute to. For the first time since starting at Westmore, she felt like she might actually belong. So, new girl, said Mark from the design department after they'd been there about an hour, what's the deal with you and the boss? The question caught Sophia off guard. What? There's no deal. He's my boss. Mark exchanged a look with another designer. Come, on. Everyone's talking about how he singled you out in the meeting today. And Vanessa's been on the warpath ever since you started. Sophia felt her cheeks growing hot. You're imagining things. Mr. West is just supportive of new employees. Mr. West? Someone laughed. Honey, no one calls him that except his father's. Old secretary. Leave her alone, Lisa interjected, seeing Sophia's discomfort. Not everyone falls for the office gossip mill. It's not gossip if it's true, Mark persisted. My desk is right outside the conference room. I saw them talking after the meeting, very intense. Sophia stood up abruptly. I need some air. She pushed her way through the crowded bar to the small outdoor patio at the back. The evening air was cool against her flushed skin. She leaned against the brick wall, closing her eyes and taking deep breaths. This was exactly what she'd been afraid of, becoming the subject of office rumors, her work overlooked in favor of speculating about her personal life. She'd spent years being defined by her mother's choices, her unstable childhood. At Westmore, she'd wanted to be defined by her talent, her work ethic, not by whatever complicated feelings she might or might not have for Grayson West. Hiding from the Inquisition. Sophia's eyes flew open. Grayson stood a few feet away, his tie loosened and his suit jacket gone. He looked less like a CEO and more like the man from the elevator. What are you doing here? She asked, surprised. Same. As you, apparently. Having a drink after work. He moved to stand beside her, leaning against the wall. Though I usually avoid company events, people tend to behave differently when the boss is around. Then why come tonight? Grayson shrugged. I heard through the grapevine that you were joining. Thought it might be a good chance to see you outside the office. He paused. That came out wrong. I meant to see how you're settling in a more casual setting. Sophia couldn't help but smile at his fumbling. It was oddly endearing coming from someone usually so composed. I was settling in fine until your employees started interrogating me about our non-existent relationship. Grayson winced. Ah, office gossip, the true power behind any corporation. It's not funny, Sophia said, though she found herself fighting. A smile. I'm trying to be taken seriously as an editor, not as whatever they think I am to you. And what do you think you are to me? Grayson asked quietly. The question hung in the air between them, weighted with unspoken possibilities. Sophia looked into his blue eyes, searching for the right answer, the safe answer. So your employee, she said finally, someone who works for your company and respects your position as CEO. Is that all? His voice was low, his eyes intent on hers. Sophia swallowed hard. It's all it can be right now, all it should be. Grayson didn't move closer, but she felt the shift between them nonetheless, a magnetic pull she'd been fighting since that day in the elevator. And if circumstances were different, he pressed, if I wasn't your boss, if we'd met somewhere else. But we didn't, Sophia interrupted, her heart racing. We met exactly as we did, and now we have to deal with the reality of that. I need this job, Grayson. I need to prove myself on my own merits, not as the girl who caught the CEO's eye. He was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put you in this position. Sophia felt a pang of regret, though she knew she'd said what needed to be said. I should go back inside. Lisa will wonder where I went. Of course, Grayson straightened up, stepping back, to give her space. For what it's worth, Sophia, you're already proving yourself. Kate doesn't give praise easily, but she speaks highly of your work. The compliment warmed her. Thank you. That means a lot. As she turned to go, Grayson spoke again, his voice softer. One more thing. There's a publishing industry charity gala next weekend. As a Westmore employee, you're invited. It would be nice to see you there. Sophia paused, then nodded once before heading back inside, not trusting herself to say more. The week that followed was busy, but productive. Sophia finished her edits on the Plant Girl manuscript and submitted them to Kate, who responded with a terse but approving email. Good work. Clean, thoughtful edits. Author should be receptive. Schedule a call with her for next week. Sophia felt a surge of pride at the validation. She was proving herself through her work, just as she'd hoped. She tried not to think about Grayson or the charity gala, or the way her heart still raced a little whenever she caught a glimpse of him in the office. They maintained a professional distance, exchanging polite nods when they passed in the hallway, but nothing more. It was better this way, Sophia told herself. Simpler, safer. But as the week went on, she found herself wondering what she would wear to the gala, if she decided to go. She'd never attended such a formal event before. Her closet was filled with practical, modest clothes suitable for work or casual outings, nothing that would fit in at a black tie charity event. You have to go, Lisa insisted when Sophia mentioned her hesitation. "It's the biggest industry event of the season. Everyone who's anyone will be there." "I don't have anything to wear," Sophia admitted, "and I can't afford to buy some fancy gown just for one night." Lisa's eyes lit up. "Let me help. My sister works as a stylist. She has access to samples all the time. I bet she could find you." "Something perfect," Sophia hesitated. "I don't know. Come on," Lisa urged. "It'll be fun. And it's important for your career to be seen at these events, to network with industry people outside of Westmore." Put that way, it sounded sensible, professional, not at all like she was dressing up to impress Grayson. "Okay," Sophia agreed finally, "but nothing too flashy." Lisa grinned. "Trust me. By the time my sister's done with you, every publisher in New York will be offering you a job." Saturday afternoon found Sophia in Lisa's sister's stylish downtown apartment, surrounded by garment bags and shoeboxes. "These are samples from last season," explained Mia, Lisa's equally vibrant but more fashion-focused sister. "Designer's loan. Them out for shoots and events. We just have to return them in perfect condition." She unzipped one bag to reveal a shimmering emerald green gown. "This would be stunning with your coloring." For the next hour, Sophia tried on dresses, while Lisa and Mia offered enthusiastic opinions. Some were too revealing, others too elaborate. But when she slipped into a simple midnight blue gown with a subtle shimmer, Sophia knew it was perfect. The cut was elegant but modest, the color deep and flattering to her dark hair and eyes. "That's the one," Lisa said decisively. "You look like you belong on a red carpet." Sophia turned in front of the mirror, hardly recognizing herself. The dress transformed her, highlighting a grace and elegance she hadn't known she possessed. "Are you sure it's not too much?" she asked uncertainly. "It's exactly right," Mia assured her. "Sophisticated, elegant, but not trying too hard. Now shoes and jewelry." By the time they were finished, Sophia had a complete outfit. The blue gown, silver heels just low enough to be comfortable, and delicate silver earrings that caught the light when she moved. "Thank you both so much," she said sincerely. "I never could have done this on my own." Lisa hugged her. "That's what friends are for. Now promise you'll send us pictures from the gala. I want to see every publishing bigwig's jaw drop when you walk in." Sophia laughed, but as she carefully carried her borrowed finery home, a flutter of nervous anticipation settled in her stomach. The gala was no longer an abstract professional obligation, but a real event where she would see Grayson outside of work, dressed not in her simple office clothes, but in a gown that made her feel beautiful and confident. It was dangerous territory, but for once Sophia wasn't sure she wanted to play it safe. The night of the charity gala arrived with perfect late spring weather, warm but not humid, with a gentle breeze that carried the scent of blooming trees from the nearby park. Sophia stood in front of her bathroom mirror, hardly recognizing herself. The midnight blue gown transformed her usual practical appearance into something elegant and sophisticated. With her dark hair swept up in a simple updo and the silver earrings catching the light, she looked like someone who belonged in the glamorous world of New York publishing. "You can do this," she told her reflection, repeating the same words she'd said before her Westmore interview. But this time, the stakes felt different, more personal. The gala was being held at the historic Astor Library, now repurposed as an event venue for the city's elite. Sophia had splurged on a taxi rather than risk public transportation in her borrowed finery. As the cab pulled up to the grand entrance, she saw photographers lined up behind velvet ropes and elegantly dressed people making their way inside. For a moment, her confidence wavered. What was she doing here? She was just an editorial assistant, barely a month into her job. She didn't belong among these successful, established industry figures, but then she thought of Kate's approval of her edits, of the authors who had responded positively to her suggestions, of Lisa's encouragement. She deserved to be here as much as anyone. Taking a deep breath, Sophia stepped out of the taxi and walked toward the entrance, keeping her head high. Inside, the historic library had been transformed with twinkling lights, floral arrangements, and tables draped in crisp white linens. A string quartet played softly in one corner, and waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Sophia accepted a glass of champagne, using it more as a prop to occupy her hands than as a drink. "Sophia, you made it." She turned to see Lisa approaching, looking stunning in a vibrant red dress. "And wow, that dress is even more perfect here than it was in Mia's apartment. You look incredible." Sophia smiled gratefully. "So do you. I'm glad you're here. I was starting to feel a little out of place." "Nonsense. You belong here as much as anyone," Lisa said, echoing Sophia's earlier thoughts. "Come on, let me introduce you to some people. Networking is half the point of these events." For the next hour, Sophia followed Lisa from group to group, meeting editors from other publishing houses, literary agents, and established authors. To her surprise, she found conversation flowing easily. People were interested in her perspective as a newcomer to the industry, and several seemed genuinely impressed by her thoughtful comments about current publishing trends. "You're a natural," Lisa remarked, as they took a brief break at a quiet corner table. "Publishers Weekly's senior editor just spent 10 minutes talking to you about market shifts. Do you know how many assistants he usually ignores at these events?" "All of them." Sophia laughed, feeling more relaxed than she had all evening. "I'm just being myself." "Exactly, that's why it's working." Lisa's eyes suddenly focused on something over Sophia's shoulder. "Speaking of working, don't look now, but your boss just walked in, and he can't take his eyes off you." Despite Lisa's warning, Sophia couldn't help turning slightly. Grayson stood near the entrance in a perfectly tailored tuxedo that made him look like he'd stepped out of a classic film. He was scanning the room, and when his eyes found hers, his expression changed from polite interest to something more intense, more personal. Sophia quickly turned back to Lisa, her heart suddenly racing. "He's just surprised to see me here, that's all." "Uh-huh," Lisa said skeptically. "And I'm just drinking water." She raised her champagne glass with a grin. "Look, I'm going to go mingle with that handsome group of literary agents over there. You do whatever you need to do." Before Sophia could protest, Lisa had disappeared into the crowd, leaving her alone at the table. She kept her eyes fixed on her champagne glass, trying to calm her racing pulse. This was ridiculous. She was a grown woman, not a teenager with a crush. She could handle seeing her boss at a work event without making it into something it wasn't. "That color suits you." Sophia looked up to find Grayson standing beside her table, 2 fresh glasses of champagne in his hands. He offered one to her. "Thank you," she said, accepting the glass and trying to ignore the brush of his fingers against hers. "You clean up pretty well yourself." A smile touched his lips. "High praise, coming from you." An awkward silence fell between them, filled with awe, the things they'd agreed not to say. "How are you finding the gala?" Grayson asked finally. "First industry event can be overwhelming." "It's not what I expected," Sophia admitted. "Everyone's been surprisingly welcoming." "Why wouldn't they be?" There was genuine curiosity in his voice. Sophia shrugged. "I'm new, inexperienced, from a community college, not an Ivy League school like most people here." "Sophia," Grayson said softly, "none of that matters in publishing. What matters is what you bring to the table, your insight, your passion for books, your ability to connect with stories and the people who create them. And from what I've seen, you have all of that in abundance." His words warmed her more than the champagne. "Kate seems to think I have potential." "Kate doesn't think people have potential. She knows they do or they don't," Grayson replied. "The fact that she's letting you edit manuscripts already says more than any compliment she could give." Sophia couldn't help smiling. "She's tough, but I like working with her. I'm learning so much." "I knew you would be a good fit," Grayson said, his eyes never leaving hers. "From that first conversation in the elevator, I could tell you understood what books mean to people, not just as products, but as—" He trailed off, searching for the right words. "Portable homes," Sophia finished for him, quoting herself from their elevator conversation. Grayson's smile deepened. "Exactly." Another silence fell, but this one was comfortable, almost intimate despite the crowded room around them. "Would you like to get some air?" Grayson asked suddenly. "The rooftop garden is open for the event. It's usually the quietest spot." Sophia hesitated. Being alone with Grayson was exactly what she'd been trying to avoid, but the crowded ballroom was growing warm, and the idea of fresh air was tempting. "Just for a few minutes," she agreed. Grayson led the way through the crowd, occasionally stopping to shake hands or exchange brief greetings with industry colleagues. Sophia noticed how people responded to him, with respect but also genuine warmth. He wasn't just a name or a position to them. He was someone they genuinely liked. The rooftop garden was a hidden gem, with potted trees strung with tiny lights and comfortable seating areas scattered among blooming planters. As Grayson had predicted, it was much less crowded than the main event space, with just a few couples enjoying the night air. They found an empty bench near the edge of the roof overlooking the city lights. Sophia sat down, careful of her borrowed dress, and Grayson joined her, leaving a respectful distance between them. "It's beautiful up here," Sophia said, looking out at the glittering cityscape. "It is," Grayson agreed, though when she glanced over, he was looking at her, not the view. Sophia felt her cheeks warm. "You promised to keep things professional," she reminded him gently. "I'm trying," he said with a rueful smile, "but you make it very difficult, especially tonight." She should have changed the subject, steered the conversation back to safer territory. Instead, she found herself asking, "Why? What's different about tonight?" Grayson considered the question. "Maybe it's seeing you here, in this setting. You belong in this world, Sophia. You navigate it with such natural grace. Or maybe it's just that blue dress." His smile turned teasing at the last part, offering her a way to lighten the moment if she chose. Sophia decided to be honest instead. "I've been trying so hard to keep things simple, to focus on my job, on proving myself, but every time I'm around you, it gets more complicated." "I know," Grayson said quietly. "I feel it too." "So what do we do about it?" she asked, surprising herself with her boldness. Before Grayson could answer, a familiar voice cut through the moment. "There you are, Gray. I've been looking everywhere for you." Vanessa approached, stunning in a form-fitting red gown that made Sophia's borrowed dress suddenly feel plain in comparison. She was accompanied by an older couple, the man distinguished with silver hair, the woman elegant in an expensive-looking emerald gown. "The Martins have been asking for you," Vanessa continued, her smile not quite reaching her eyes as they flickered over Sophia. "I promised you'd join us for a drink." Grayson stood, his expression shifting to polite professionalism. "Mr. and Mrs. Martin, it's good to see you again. I hope you're enjoying the event." "Lovely as always," Mrs. Martin replied, her gaze moving curiously between Grayson and Sophia. "But we don't want to interrupt your conversation." "Not at all," Grayson assured her. "This is Sophia Lane, one of our promising new editors. Sophia, Robert, and Elizabeth Martin are longtime supporters of literacy programs throughout the city." Sophia stood and shook their hands, trying to ignore Vanessa's icy stare. "An editor at your age? How impressive," Mrs. Martin said warmly. "What are you working on currently?" Sophia was about to answer when Vanessa cut in. "Sophia's just an assistant." Elizabeth, still learning the ropes, her tone was pleasant but dismissive. "Gray likes to encourage the junior staff." Sophia felt a flash of irritation. "I'm assistant to Kate Chen," she clarified, keeping her voice even. "And I'm currently editing a young adult novel about a girl who can communicate with plants. We think it has significant potential for the fall list." Mrs. Martin looked genuinely interested. "That sounds fascinating. My granddaughter loves those kinds of stories. Magical, but with an emotional core." "Exactly," Sophia agreed, warming to the subject. "This one explores grief and healing through the protagonist's connection to nature. It's quite beautiful." "We're still evaluating its commercial potential," Vanessa interjected. "The YA market is extremely competitive, which is why we need fresh voices like Sophia's," Grayson said firmly. "New perspectives on what readers are looking for." The tension between Grayson and Vanessa was palpable. Sophia felt caught in the middle of a power struggle she didn't fully understand. "Well," Mr. Martin said, clearly sensing the awkwardness, "we should circulate. But Miss Lane, I'd love to hear more about this plant book, perhaps at the next Westmore event." "I'd like that," Sophia replied sincerely. As the Martins moved away, Vanessa's polite mask slipped. "Was that necessary, Gray? Undermining me in front of potential investors?" "I was supporting a member of my team," Grayson replied coolly. "And the Martins aren't potential investors. They're friends of the family who don't need you managing their relationship with me. A member of your team, Vanessa repeated, her gaze sliding to Sophia. Is that all she is? Sophia had had enough. I should get back to the main event. Thank you for the champagne, Mr. West. She walked away, her borrowed heels clicking against the rooftop pavers. She heard Grayson call her name, but she didn't turn back. This was exactly why getting involved with him, even just emotionally, was a bad idea. The politics, the power dynamics, the Vanessas of the world who would always see her as an opportunist rather than a professional. Back in the main hall, Sophia found Lisa chatting with a group from the art department. There you are, Lisa exclaimed. I was about to send out a search party. Where did you disappear to? Just getting some air, Sophia replied, not wanting to get into the details. I think I'm going to head home, though. It's been a long night. Lisa looked concerned. Did something happen? You look upset. I'm fine. Just tired, and these shoes are starting to kill me. It wasn't entirely a lie. Her feet were aching, and the emotional roller coaster of the evening had left her exhausted. If you're sure, Lisa said, clearly not convinced. Text me when you get home safe, okay? Sophia promised she would and made her way through the crowd toward the exit. She was almost there when Kate Chen appeared beside her. Leaving so soon? The senior editor asked, looking uncharacteristically elegant in a simple black dress. I have an early day tomorrow, Sophia lied. I want to finish those revision notes for the Winters manuscript. Kate studied her face for a moment, then nodded toward a quiet corner. Walk with me for a minute. Confused but unwilling to refuse her boss, Sophia followed Kate to a small alcove away from the main crowd. I saw you with Grayson on the roof, Kate said without preamble. And then with Vanessa. How's the Martins? Sophia felt her face flush. It wasn't, we were just talking. I don't care what you were doing, Kate replied bluntly, but I do care about you understanding the situation you're in. I'm not sure I follow, Kate sighed. Grayson is a good man, better than most in his position, but he's also the CEO of a company his family has run for 3 generations. That comes with complications you may not fully appreciate. Sophia bristled slightly. I'm not naive, Kate. I understand workplace politics. Do you? Kate's gaze was direct. Do you understand that Vanessa's father sits on our board of directors, that her family's publishing house was Westmore's biggest competitor until they merged 20 years ago, that she's been groomed since childhood to be the perfect corporate wife to a Westmore heir? Sophia stared at Kate, stunned by this new information. I didn't know that. Of course you didn't, Kate said, her tone softening slightly. How could you? But these are the waters you're swimming in, Sophia, deeper and more treacherous than they appear. Why are you telling me this? Sophia asked quietly. Kate was quiet for a moment. Because you remind me of myself 20 years ago, talented, determined, unwilling to play the politics, and because I see how Grayson looks at you. Nothing's happening between us, Sophia insisted. Not yet, Kate agreed, but it could. And if it does, you need to go into it with your eyes open. Grayson broke his engagement to Vanessa's cousin 3 years ago, right after he took over the company. The families had been planning that merger, marriage really, since they were children. Sophia felt a chill run through her. He never mentioned an engagement. He wouldn't. It ended badly, and he's not one to discuss his personal life. Kate paused. But you should know that Vanessa isn't just a jealous ex. She represents family obligations and business alliances that go back generations. Why are you warning me? Sophia asked. Shouldn't you be warning me away entirely? Telling me not to get involved with the boss? Kate's expression softened into something almost like a smile. Would that work? Sophia thought about it honestly. Probably not. I didn't think so. Kate straightened her dress. You're good at your job, Sophia. I'd hate to lose you because you walked into a situation you didn't fully understand. She checked her watch. I should get back. The publishing awards are being announced soon. As Kate walked away, Sophia stood frozen in place, her mind racing. Everything Kate had told her added new complexity to a situation that was already complicated. Enough. Family obligations, business alliances, board politics, these were factors she'd never considered when sorting through her feelings for Grayson. She needed space to think. Gathering her borrowed wrap around her shoulders, Sophia slipped out the main entrance and stood on the steps of the historic building, breathing in the night air. After a moment's hesitation, she decided to walk a few blocks before hailing a cab. The movement would help clear her head. The city streets were still busy, even at this late hour. Sophia walked carefully in her heels, grateful for the relative anonymity of being just another well-dressed woman out on a Saturday night. She'd gone about 3 blocks when she heard rapid footsteps behind her and a familiar voice calling her name. "Sophia! Wait!" She turned to see Grayson jogging toward her, his bow tie undone and hanging loose around his neck, his expression a mix of concern and determination. "How did you find me?" she asked when he reached her. "I saw you leave." "When you weren't outside. Waiting for a cab, I guessed you might be walking." He caught his breath. "You shouldn't be out here alone at night." "I'm fine," she assured him. "Just needed some air." "Because of Vanessa?" "I'm sorry about that. She was out of line." Sophia shook her head. "It's not just Vanessa, it's everything. Kate told me about your broken engagement, about the family connections, the board politics. It's all so complicated." Grayson ran a hand through his hair, messing it up in that now familiar way. "Kate shouldn't have—" He stopped himself. "No, actually, I'm glad she told you. You deserve to know what you'd be getting into." "Would be," Sophia repeated. "That's a bit presumptuous, isn't it?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Is it? You wouldn't be walking away in the middle of a major industry event if there wasn't something to walk away from." He had her there. Sophia sighed, looking around at the busy street, feeling suddenly tired of pretending. "I like you, Grayson. I have since that day in the elevator. But my whole life has been chaos and uncertainty. I came to New York, to Westmore, for stability, for a clear path forward." She met his eyes directly. "A relationship with my boss, especially one with all this baggage attached, is the opposite of stable and clear." Grayson nodded slowly. "I understand that. Believe me, I do. My whole life has been mapped out for me. Who I should be, who I should marry, what my future should look like. Breaking away from that plan was the hardest thing I've ever done." "When you ended your engagement," Sophia said quietly. "Yes." He didn't seem surprised that she knew. "Emily is Vanessa's cousin. Our families had been planning our merger, because that's what it was, not a marriage, since we were children. When I took over Westmore, I realized I couldn't live someone else's idea of my life anymore." "That must have been difficult," Sophia said, genuine sympathy in her voice. "It was," Grayson admitted. "The families were furious. Emily was hurt, though I think more her pride than her heart. We never really loved each other, just went along with what was expected." He took a step closer to her. "That's why meeting you felt so different, so important. For the first time, I connected with someone who saw me. Not my name, not my position, not what I could do for them. Just me." Sophia felt her resolve weakening. "But none of that changes the facts. You're still my boss. There's still an imbalance of power that can't be ignored." "What if I wasn't your boss?" Grayson asked. "What?" "Kate has been saying for months that the editorial department needs to be restructured. Under the current system, all editors ultimately report to me. But it doesn't have to be that way. We could create an editorial director position. Kate would be perfect for it. The department would report directly to her, and she would report to the board, same as I do." Sophia stared at him. "You'd reorganize your entire company because of this? Because of me?" "Not because of you," Grayson corrected. "Because it's the right structure for the company we're becoming. Kate has been pushing for more editorial independence since I took over. This would just be accelerating a change that makes sense anyway." It was a tempting solution, but Sophia still hesitated. "Even with a different reporting structure, everyone would know you're the CEO. The power dynamic doesn't just disappear." "You're right," Grayson acknowledged, "which is why we'd need to be careful, take things slowly, be transparent with HR and the board from the beginning." He took another step toward her, close enough now that she could see the earnestness in his eyes. "I'm not asking for promises, Sophia. I'm just asking for a chance to see what this could be without the elevator doors or office politics getting in the way." Sophia looked at him, this man who had first appeared to her as a kind stranger with an extra coffee, who had seen her at her most vulnerable and still found her strength, who was willing to reshape his company to give them a fair shot at whatever was growing between them. "I don't know, Grayson," she said honestly. "It's a lot to consider." "Take all the time you need," he replied. "I'll respect whatever decision you make." They stood there on the sidewalk, the noise of the city fading into the background. Sophia thought about her mother's nomadic life, always chasing the next relationship, the next fresh start. She'd sworn she wouldn't follow that path, that she would build something solid and secure. But maybe true security wasn't about avoiding risks. Maybe it was about finding someone worth taking risks for. "I need to get home," she said finally. "These shoes really are killing me." Grayson nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. "Of course. Let me get you a cab." He stepped to the curb and raised his hand. Almost immediately, a taxi pulled up beside them. "Perks of the tuxedo," he said with a slight smile, opening the door for her. Sophia hesitated, then turned to face him fully. "I quit." Grayson blinked. "What?" "I quit," she repeated more firmly this time. "I can't work for you anymore, Grayson West." Alarm crossed his face. "Sophia, please don't do anything rash. Your job is secure, regardless of what happens between us personally." "I would never—" "You're not listening," she interrupted. "I'm not quitting because I'm afraid for my job. I'm quitting because I want to see what this could be." She gestured between them. "But I want to do it right. No power imbalances, no workplace complications. Just two people figuring out if what they felt in that elevator was real." Understanding dawned in Grayson's eyes, followed by a mixture of surprise and hope. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," Sophia confirmed. "I'll find another job. There are other publishing houses in New York. With Kate's recommendation, I'm sure I can land on my feet." "Sophia, I can't let you sacrifice your career for what I want," she challenged. "Isn't that exactly what you did when you broke your engagement? Sometimes the right choice means walking away from the safe path." Grayson looked stunned. "Those are my words from the elevator." "I remembered," Sophia said softly. "I remembered everything about that conversation." "So did I," he admitted, his voice equally soft. For a moment they simply looked at each other, the taxi waiting, the city continuing its nighttime rhythm around them. "What happens now?" Grayson asked finally. Sophia smiled, feeling a strange mix of terror and exhilaration at her own boldness. "Now I go home and write a proper resignation letter. You can expect it on your desk Monday morning." "And after that?" "After that," Sophia said, the smile growing on her face, "you could ask me to dinner, somewhere quiet where we can talk without worrying who might see us. And then we'll see." Grayson's answering smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. "I'd like that." Sophia stepped into the waiting cab, but before she closed the door, she turned back to him. "For what it's worth, I think what happened in that elevator was real. I think it might be the most real thing either of us has experienced in a long time." Grayson nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "I think so too." He closed the taxi door gently, and Sophia gave the driver her address. As the cab pulled away, she watched Grayson through the rear window, standing tall in his rumpled tuxedo under the city lights, watching her go with an expression of wonder on his face. Sophia leaned back against the seat, her heart racing with the enormity of what she'd just done. She'd quit her dream job, the stability she'd worked so hard for, the safe path she'd always followed. And somehow, it felt like the most stable, secure decision she'd ever made. Monday morning found Sophia in the now familiar elevator of the Westmore building, though this time her nerves were for an entirely different reason. Her resignation letter was tucked neatly in her bag, printed on good quality paper and signed with a steady hand. She'd spent Sunday alternating between panic and a strange, peaceful certainty. This was right, even if it was terrifying. For once in her life, she was choosing the unknown path, not out of necessity but out of hope. The elevator doors opened on the 14th floor, and Sophia stepped out, heading straight for Kate's office. She owed her boss the courtesy of hearing the news first, before anyone else. Kate was already at her desk, coffee in hand, reviewing a manuscript with her trademark concentration. "Good morning, Kate," Sophia said from the doorway. "Do you have a minute?" Kate looked up, her sharp eyes taking in Sophia's serious expression. "Come in, close the door." Sophia sat down across from Kate's desk, her resignation letter still in her bag. Before she could speak, Kate held up a hand. "Before you say anything, I should tell you that Grayson came to see me yesterday." Sophia's eyes widened. "He did?" Kate nodded. "He informed me that the board has approved a restructuring of the editorial department. I'm being promoted to editorial director, with full autonomy over all editorial decisions and personnel." A rare smile crossed her face. "It's a position I've been advocating for since Lawrence West was in charge." "That's wonderful," Sophia said, sincerely. "Congratulations, Kate." "Thank you." Kate fixed Sophia with her direct gaze. "He also mentioned that you might be submitting your resignation today." Sophia nodded, retrieving the letter from her bag. "I am. I want you to know that it has nothing to do with my experience here. Working with you has been—" "Save the speech," Kate interrupted, though not unkindly. "I understand your reasons, and I respect them, even if I think they're unnecessary given the restructuring." Sophia placed the letter on Kate's desk. "I need to do this my way. Start fresh without any questions about how I got my position or why I'm being promoted." Kate studied her for a moment, then nodded. "I understand. For what it's worth, I think you're making the harder choice, but not necessarily the wrong one." "Thank you," Sophia said, relieved that Kate wasn't trying to change her mind. "Don't thank me yet," Kate replied, a hint of her usual briskness returning. "I still expect 2 weeks' notice, and I expect you to train your replacement properly. And I expect copies of all your notes on current projects, especially the Winters manuscript." Sophia smiled. "Of course. And," Kate continued, "I expect you to keep me updated on where you land next. The publishing world is small, Sophia. Our paths will cross again." "I hope so," Sophia said sincerely. As she left Kate's office, Sophia felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. One hard conversation down, one more to go. She took the elevator to the executive floor, her resignation letter for Grayson in hand. Margaret wasn't at her desk yet, so Sophia approached Grayson's office directly. The door was slightly ajar and she could hear his voice inside on the phone. She knocked gently, and he looked up, his face brightening when he saw her. He motioned for her to come in as he wrapped up his call. "Yes, I understand the concerns, but I believe this restructuring is in the best interest of the company. Kate Chen has the editorial vision Westmore needs as we adapt to changing markets." He paused, listening. "Yes, I've considered the implications. My decision is final. Thank you." He hung up and stood to greet her. "Good morning, Sophia." "Good morning," she replied, suddenly feeling shy despite everything that had passed between them on Saturday night. "I've already spoken with Kate." Grayson nodded. "I hope she wasn't too hard on you." Actually, she was surprisingly understanding. Sophia held out her resignation letter. "This is for you." Grayson took it, but didn't open it. "Are you sure about this? With the restructuring, you could stay at Westmore without any ethical concerns." "I'm sure," Sophia said firmly. "I need to do this my way." He studied her face, then nodded. "I understand, and I respect your decision, even if part of me wishes you would stay." "Only part of you?" she teased lightly. A smile touched his lips. "The CEO part. The rest of me is looking forward to what comes next." Sophia felt a flutter in her chest at his words. "So am I." "Kate will insist on 2 weeks' notice," Grayson said. "She already has," Sophia confirmed. "And I have every intention of fulfilling my professional obligations before I leave." "And after that?" Grayson asked, unconsciously echoing their conversation from Saturday night. Sophia smiled. "After that, I believe you mentioned dinner, somewhere quiet where we can talk." "I did, didn't I?" Grayson's expression softened. "How about tomorrow night? No need to wait until your notice is up for dinner." "Tomorrow sounds perfect," Sophia agreed. She turned to leave. Grayson called her name softly. "Sophia?" She looked back, meeting his eyes across the office. "Thank you," he said simply, "for trusting this enough to take a risk. I won't let you regret it." "I know," she replied, and was surprised to realize she meant it. This leap into the unknown, this deviation from her carefully planned path, it felt right in a way she couldn't quite explain. Back at her desk, Sophia found a small envelope waiting for her. Inside was a simple note in Grayson's handwriting. "The first door trapped us. The next one opens to something better, because you had the courage to let it." Sophia smiled, tucking the note away in her purse. She had 2 weeks of work ahead of her, a new job to find, and a future that looked nothing like she'd planned. And for the first time in her life, uncertainty felt like the safest choice of all. 3. Months later, Sophia stood outside the now familiar glass building that housed Westmore Publishing. But today she wasn't here as an employee. She was here as a visitor, with a guest badge clipped to her blouse and butterflies in her stomach. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind. With Kate's glowing recommendation, Sophia had landed a junior editor position at Horizon Books, a smaller but well-respected publishing house specializing in young adult and middle-grade fiction. The company's more intimate size meant she had more responsibility than she would have had at Westmore, handling her own list of authors with minimal supervision. And then there was Grayson. True to his word, he'd taken things slowly. Their first. Dinner had stretched into 4 hours of conversation, picking up exactly where they'd left off in the elevator that day. They'd discovered a shared love of classic films, a mutual dislike of seafood, and 100 other small connections that made each date feel both exciting and comfortable, like coming home to a place she'd never been before. They'd been careful to keep their relationship private at first, aware of how gossip could undermine Sophia's professional reputation. But as weeks passed and her position at Horizon became more secure, they'd gradually become more open about their connection. Now, as Sophia rode the elevator to the 14th floor, she felt a mixture of nostalgia and anticipation. Kate had called her yesterday, asking her to come in to discuss the Winter's manuscript, the Plant Girl book that had been Sophia's first editing project. "We're ready to move forward with publication," Kate had said. "And since you did the initial developmental edit, I'd like you to see how it's evolved." The elevator doors opened and Sophia stepped out, memories washing over her. The floor looked the same cubicles, the same buzz of activity, the same smell of coffee and paper. But she was different, more confident, more settled in her own skin. "Sophia," Lisa squealed, rushing over to envelop her in a hug. "It's so good to see you. How's Horizon treating you?" "Really well," Sophia replied, returning the hug. "I'm handling 4 authors now, and my boss just approved me to sign a new one I found at a writing conference last month." "Look at you, all grown up and discovering new talent," Lisa grinned. "Kate's waiting for you in the conference room. And yes, before you ask, he's here too." Sophia felt her cheeks warm. Despite dating for 3 months, seeing Grayson in his professional environment still gave her butterflies. "How are things here?" she asked, deflecting Lisa's knowing look. "Different, since the restructuring. Better, I think. Kate runs a tight ship, but she listens to ideas in a way the old regime never did." Lisa lowered her voice. "And between you and me, Vanessa has been on her best behavior since you left. I think losing that... And between you and me, Vanessa has been on her best behavior since you left. I think losing that power struggle with Grayson finally made her realize she can't always get her way." Sophia smiled, glad to hear things were going. "Well, I should go see Kate. Don't want to keep her waiting." "Of course. We should grab coffee soon. I want to hear all about the new authors you're working with." Sophia made her way to the conference room, her heart beating a little faster with each step. When she opened the door, Kate was already there, arranging copies of what appeared to be a bound manuscript on the table. "Right on time," Kate said by way of greeting. "Good to see some things haven't changed." "It's good to see you too, Kate," Sophia replied with a smile. Kate gestured to the chair beside her. "Sit. I want your honest opinion on what we've done with the Winter's manuscript." Sophia took the offered seat and picked up one of the bound copies. The cover page now featured a beautiful illustration of a young girl surrounded by swirling leaves and flowers, with the title Whispers from the Earth in elegant green lettering. "We're going to press next month," Kate explained, as Sophia flipped through the pages. Initial feedback from early readers has been extremely positive. The author made most of your suggested revisions, and the result is... Kate paused, searching for the right word. Special. Coming from Kate, this was exceptionally high praise. Sophia felt a swell of pride. "I'm so glad. Zoe's writing was beautiful from the start. It just needed a little focus. Your insights were valuable," Kate said matter-of-factly, "which is why I wanted to discuss something else with you." Before she could continue, the door opened and Grayson walked in. He wore a charcoal suit today, his tie loosened slightly at the neck, a small concession to comfort that made Sophia smile. Their eyes met, and the warmth in his gaze made her momentarily forget where they were. "Sorry I'm late," he said, addressing Kate, but his eyes still on Sophia. "Board call ran over." "You're right on time," Kate replied, a knowing look passing between her and Grayson. "I was just about to give Sophia our proposal." Sophia glanced between them, confused. "Proposal." Kate pushed a folder across the table. "Horizon Books and Westmore have been in discussions about a potential partnership, specifically a co-publishing arrangement for select young adult and middle-grade titles." Sophia opened the folder to find a detailed outline of a proposed publishing initiative that would combine Westmore's resources with Horizon's specialized focus. "We'd like you to head up the project from the Horizon side," Kate continued. "You'd work directly with me as the Westmore lead." "This is unexpected," Sophia said, trying to process what this would mean. "Does my boss at Horizon know about this?" "Rebecca was the one who suggested you," Grayson said, finally taking a seat across from her. "She speaks very highly of your work these past 3 months." Sophia felt a rush of pleasure at the compliment. Rebecca Miller, the founder of Horizon, was known for her exacting standards and reluctance to praise. "This partnership would be good for both companies," Kate added. "Westmore gets access to Horizon's expertise in the young adult market, and Horizon gets our distribution network and marketing resources." "And you'd be the perfect bridge between the two companies," Grayson said quietly. "You understand both cultures, both approaches to publishing." Sophia looked down at the proposal again, her mind racing. It was an incredible opportunity professionally, exactly the kind of project that could establish her reputation in the industry. "This isn't about..." "Thus," Grayson added as if reading her thoughts, "this was Kate and Rebecca's idea. I just approved the budget." Sophia looked to Kate for confirmation, and the senior editor nodded. "I wouldn't have suggested it if I didn't think you were the right person for the job, regardless of your personal connections." "I don't know what to say," Sophia admitted. "Say you'll think about it," Kate replied pragmatically. "Review the proposal, discuss it with Rebecca. This isn't a decision to make on the spot." Sophia nodded, closing the folder. "I will thank you both for thinking of me. And now, if you'll excuse me," Kate said, gathering her papers, "I have an acquisitions meeting in 10 minutes. She paused at the door. "It's good to have you back in the building, Sophia, even if just for a visit." After Kate left, a comfortable silence settled between Sophia and Grayson. He moved to sit in the chair beside her, close but not touching. "So," he said after a moment, "what do you think, really?" Sophia considered the question. "I think it's an amazing opportunity, and I think I'm qualified for it, which is still something I'm getting used to believing." Grayson smiled. "You are more than qualified. Kate doesn't make recommendations lightly, and neither does Rebecca Miller." "And what about us?" Sophia asked the question that had been hovering in her mind. "Working together, even indirectly, doesn't that complicate things?" "Life is complicated," Grayson replied simply, "but I think we've proven we can handle complications." He reached for her hand, his touch warm and familiar. "These past 3 months have been the happiest of my life, Sophia. I'm not going to let office politics or corporate structures get in the way of that." Sophia squeezed his hand, remembering how far they'd come since that stuck elevator. "Neither am I." "Good," Grayson said, his blue eyes serious now. "Because there's something else I wanted to ask you. Another business proposal, Sophia teased. Not exactly. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small box. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Before you panic, Grayson said quickly, this isn't a ring. At least not that kind of ring. He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver key attached to a simple key ring. It's a key to my apartment, he explained, a touch of nervousness in his voice now. I know it's only been 3 months and we agreed to take things slowly, but I've never been more certain of anything than I am of us. And I thought, maybe it's time we started building something together, something real. Sophia looked at the key, then back at Grayson's face. In his eyes, she saw the same open, honest connection that had first drawn her to him in the elevator. The man who had offered her coffee and calm conversation when she was panicking, who had seen her for who she truly was before he knew anything about her. Are you asking me to move in with you? She clarified, a smile tugging at her lips. Eventually, yes, Grayson admitted, but for now, just to have the option, to come and go as you please. To know you're always welcome in my space, in my life. Sophia took the key from the box, feeling its weight in her palm. Once, she would have seen this as a reckless step, too much too soon. But now she recognized it for what it was, not an abandonment, of stability, but the foundation of something even more secure, a partnership built on trust, respect, and genuine understanding. I have a better idea, she said, closing her fingers around the key. Why don't we look for a new place together? Somewhere that's ours from the beginning, not yours that becomes ours. The surprise and joy that spread across Grayson's face was, answer enough. Really, you're ready for that? Sophia nodded. I've spent my whole life being careful, Grayson, planning every step, avoiding risks. And then I got stuck in an elevator with you, and everything I thought I knew about security and stability changed. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. Sometimes the safest choices are the ones that look riskiest from the outside. Loving you feels like the safest decision I've ever made. Grayson's hand came up to cup her cheek. I love you too, Sophia Lane. More than I thought possible. When he kissed her, Sophia felt the last of her doubts melt away. They still had challenges ahead. The new partnership between their companies, finding a home together, navigating the complexities of their different backgrounds. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid of the unknown, because the most important thing wasn't locked doors or careful plans or controlled outcomes. It was having someone to face the uncertainty with, someone who saw her clearly, loved her completely, and held the door open to whatever came next. As they walked out of the conference room together, Sophia thought about the day they'd met, trapped, between floors in an elevator that had seemed like the worst luck possible at the time. Now she knew better. Sometimes it took a stuck door to open the way to everything you never knew you needed. The end.